Welcome, Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi, and welcome our guest, the godfather of high school football recruiting and the creator of the five-star system, CBS sports analyst, and also the Prep magazine. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, the Prep Football Report. It's going into its 45th year this October, so I've been at it a while. Matter of fact, since you're from Pittsburgh, my first trip was October of '78 to go see Dan Marino, and I met him before a Pitt game there on state when the stadium was on campus, and so I've been around a long time.
And of course, I'm talking to Tom Lemming, who knows all about recruiting. If you watch recruits and you see they have 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, it's all because of him. Tom, when it comes to recruiting, let me ask you this. It seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, the rich are getting richer. I'm not seeing much of a difference in recruiting. Any surprises for you in the 2023 recruiting class?
You know, every year there's always a surprise or two of schools you don't expect to be maybe in the top 10. It's too early now. I always tell everybody, the fans go crazy. Now they'll say, matter of fact, I'm wearing this Notre Dame shirt. Notre Dame fans go crazy. Picked up this shirt Saturday because I was in South Bend to watch a South Bend Cubs game. And when in Rome, you got to kind of get whatever they do. Last week I was in Texas, so I picked up an SMU and a TCU shirt. But what happens is, like the Notre Dame fans especially, they go crazy early. They're number 7 now, I think, nationally. That means they'll probably drop out of the top 10 because when you're too high too early, it means you've almost run out of scholarships. And a lot of the bigger schools will start getting more guys in. And Notre Dame is still going to have a good year, but they'll probably drop out of the top 10 because of lack of scholarships. They only got a couple left.
Well, one surprise around here from what I'm seeing is the 2024 recruiting class. Pitt's having a pretty good year.
Well, they always do okay. Their coach is a good recruiter. He was good at Michigan State. And, there's a lot of good ball players in Western PA. Penn State's been doing great state-wise over the past several years. James Franklin's also a great recruiter. I knew him as a GA at Maryland, and then I would always do these big get-togethers at Maryland and then at Vanderbilt. And now I've got one September 2nd at Penn State where I've invited all the top underclassmen to come by at State College High School before their West Virginia game. So I finish all my interviews and then send them over to their game. So it's a win-win for the players. They get to, at least get their name in a magazine and also see a college game. So it works out good. But Pitt, I've done them many years. And we were just talking before I came on was my very first trip. I went to Pittsburgh. It was I made a stop, St. Louis, and then Indianapolis, Cincinnati to see Jerry Faust at Moeller, who was the premier head coach in the country back in '78. And then I went to Pittsburgh. And what's funny was Terry Totten, the coach at Central Catholic. I think he just retired a year or so ago. But Terry was a teammate of Dan Marino. And I guess he said he saw me there when I was there interviewing back in October of '78. Dan was, along with John Elway and Eric Dickerson that year, the top 3 players in the country.
Hey, Tom, we're looking at what's going on with college football. So much I want to talk to you about. But starting off, 4,000 players entered the transfer portal after the 2022 season. What kind of an impact does this have on recruiting in particular with so much of this going on?
You'll see schools like Oklahoma or USC, Ole Miss, Michigan State did it to their advantage the first year and to their disadvantage the second year. It hurts high school football. High school football players getting scholarships. I would say at least a third of them that normally gets full rides didn't get full rides because colleges were giving those scholarships to the transfer portal guys. And it hurts them because when you're talking about 4,000, a good number of them never got another scholarship offer. They were probably pricing themselves out of the business. They figured, okay, they all have a lot of confidence. You got to play big time college ball. However, a lot of them just didn't realize their ability, and they jumped in because they weren't starting at the school they were at, and then no other school picked them up. There's hundreds of them that never got another ride, so they were out of not only playing football, but out of a college education, a free one. So I always recommend, I tell players, make sure you got someplace to land before you jump. But a good number of them don't, and then they pay the price.
Talking to Kirk Ferentz of Iowa, had him on last year. He's told me in subsequent conversations he can only recruit 1 quarterback. If he recruits 2, the first one he recruited is going to leave.
Well, yeah, for the same year, yeah, you got to have like at least 4 on campus, and now it's tough to keep 4 on campus because if they're backup, it's like you're good friends with Terry Hanratty, and Terry came into Notre Dame and started as soon as he was eligible. However, back then no one transferred, so he had a guy Coley O'Brien who was a big star behind him, and who just sat and waited. Terry had gotten hurt that sophomore year, and then Coley came in. But Coley, if it had been now, would have been the type that would have just transferred as soon as Terry beat him out. And you see that all the time. And quarterbacks are a different breed to begin with because they're normally pampered a lot of times by their parents or coach. A lot of times I've seen a lot of quarterbacks actually running the family where they're telling the parents what to do because the parents figure this is our money train coming along and we don't want to get him upset. And that's why they don't have their feet on the ground. They don't know that you got to work hard for that position. They just want to have it handed to them. And this is a good number of them, not all of them, but a good number of them. So as soon as they get to campus and they don't get the job, they transfer. And and that's why you see so many quarterbacks transfer. There's so many quarterbacks in the transfer. I would say at least 50% of them wind up transferring now. 10 years ago, you might have seen 5% transfer.
Names, image, and likeness. It's an ongoing process. I'm going to get your take on what Nick Saban and Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz said that it's destroying the competitive balance. And I have to chuckle with that because I don't know how it might impact Missouri. I'm not sure what it's going to do with Alabama at all, or Georgia, or any of the other top schools. Well, what's your take on their comments?
Well, I had lunch with John Gruden a few months ago, and he was telling me that, and I agreed with him. The NCAA should have gotten ahead of this, but they were so money hungry with Grubby, and just like the coaches are, it's money, 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 money. You knew the rule was going to be changing with the players. They're working, so they had to get something. California started it, and then it trickled down to most of the other states. But if they had gotten ahead of it and said, okay, maybe the players get $20,000 or $15,000, give them a set price for all 85 scholarship players. But nowadays, it's the top. If you're at Alabama, maybe the top 20 players getting a ton of money, and then it goes all the way down to hardly anybody getting anything. The last 20 out of the 85, and that's all the major schools too. So it's an imbalance when it comes to money. The big name guys are getting it, so the other kids, there'll be jealousy. Some will be transferring. You always got to worry about throwing games too. That's happened in the past in basketball and football. But with all this NIL stuff and the players, maybe the kicker or special teams player that aren't getting hardly any money may want to, the gamblers could possibly get a hold of them nowadays. You always got to worry about everything. So it's a mess. Hopefully the NCAA could clean it up, but knowing their history, I doubt if that ever happens.
It seems like if you have a billionaire sponsor for your program, it seems like they become the de facto recruiters for your school, as is happening at Miami and Texas.
To be honest with you, Ed, that's happened a long time ago. Even before NIL.
I agree.
You get a lot of these schools. I've been doing this since '78, and I was up when the Southwest Conference with SMU and Eric Dickerson and Texas A&M and Houston and all that stuff was going on. It was going on at Illinois under Mike White. It was going on in a lot of schools. Southeast Conference famous for doing under the table kind of work. So now it's just above table. Now they're actually doing under and above the table work. So it hasn't really changed. It's been going on, I think, since college football, since ball players were sought after. So over 100 years ago, it's legal in a lot of parts. So you can have the wealthy people who want to get involved. These are people that normally never played football, but they've got billions of dollars, or at least hundreds of millions, and they want to be part of it. And they want to tell people, I got this guy to this school. I did this. I did that. They got a lot of times to be big businessmen, you got to have big egos, and to feed those egos, they're really excited about helping their alma mater out and giving the top ball players money. But I don't know. And I was looking at the quarterback from Pittsburgh, California last year, Rashidi, committed to, I think, Miami for $7 million. These are numbers thrown around, so I'm not sure they're legit. Then he switched to Florida for $13 million. Then right after signing day, Florida said, we don't have that kind of money to give you. And now he's at Arizona State, and I don't know how much he's getting, but obviously not that much. So a lot of it is in the air. It's just like before they used to have written offers. So when you got a written offer, you got to kind of stick to it. Now they're verbal offers. As soon as you say it, it's in the air. You could offer 300 players, even though you only got 25 scholarships. And the same thing now with NIL money. You could tell them, you can give them $20 billion. You're not going to pay it. Tell the kid whatever you want, and then let him sign. And then if he wants to transfer after that, it makes him look bad. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on in this business already. And it's not really surprising that there's a lot of it going on with the NIL.
Hey, Tom, always great talking to you. I have so much more. We need to reconnect maybe later in September. I want to talk to you about the great changes going on with the conference realignments. I'm a traditionalist. It really bothers me what's going on, but that's for another time, and I have you on the air. Good luck on your trips, and talk to you soon again.
My pleasure. At any time. You take care.
You too, Tom. I'll be right back with Ellen George.
Armstrong has a long history of fighting food insecurity in our communities through Breaking Bread events. Here's how you can help. We're celebrating our 6th annual Avenge Hunger Month. Join us in supporting local food banks and soup kitchens by dropping off these most requested items to your local Armstrong office between August 28th and October 1st. Together, we can knock out hunger. Visit ArmstrongOneWire.com/breakingbread to find a list of community feeding programs in your area.
High school sports, community events, all of your favorite local shows are calling the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel their home. Find out everything your neighborhood has to offer on Channel 100 or on YouTube. Spirit, town pride, local communities. This is the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
I am back, joined to my right by the Swami, George Abraham. To my left, the Tiger, Albert Campman. High school football, guys, we're moving along. Week 2 already. Top rushers, Robert Jarvis of Riverside, 209 yards. Tyree Alu of North Allegheny, 154 yards and 3 TDs. Elijah Palmer McCain, Elwood City, 115. The Wolverines, 2-1. Pretty good start for them.
Great start.
Ethan Pillar of Pine Richland, 127 yards and a touchdown. Evan Wright of Mars, 119, 3 TDs. Ben Miller of Wilmington, 110 yards and 3 touchdowns. George, he's just a junior.
Yeah, he's a very good runner. I believe he's an excellent baseball player also.
And Braylon Littlejohn of Butler, 8 carries, 109 yards. Top passers, Trent Beecham of Montauk, 284 yards, 2 TDs, 3 INTs. Cody Mullen of Knock, 239 yards, 3 TDs. Deshaun Anderson of Beaver Falls, 219 yards and a touchdown. Luke Goodworth of Mars, 156, 3 TDs. Logan Kushner of North Allegheny, 117. Eli Anderson of Slippery Rock High School, 116. And Sean O'Shea of Seneca Valley, he threw for 108. Receiving, Caden Spencer of Knox, 7 for 140 and 3 touchdowns. Ashton Grossman of Montauk, 4 for 132 yards and a touchdown. Denari Harris of Beaver Falls, 4 for 112 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Hine of Mars, 6 for 105 and a TD. Gary Pugh of Beaver Falls, 7 for 78. You wonder how they lost that football game with all that. These guys piling up this yardage. And Sam Schwartz, Slippery Rock High School, 7 for 64 yards. He caught a touchdown pass, and with the game tied with Greenville, 7-7 in the fourth quarter, he returned an interception, 55 yards for the winning touchdown. This is a big win for the Rockets. They win despite having a -1 yard rushing.
It's hard to win that way.
Very hard. And local colleges, Slippery Rock University routed Westchester 49-24. Slippery Rock University running back Khalid Dorsey, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Braden Long, 312 yards, 4 touchdowns. Receiving, Cohen Russell, 6 for 82. And Kyle Sheets, he caught 2 for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. How about this game? The Rock piled up 544 yards and Westchester 497 yards.
Let's make sure we play defense at the Rock.
Yes.
I know they can score.
Yeah.
Grove City 43, Waynesburg 27. Knock grad, All-American wide receiver Scott Fraser, 8 for 125 yards and a touchdown. You know, he's a big kid. I'm just wondering with what he's doing, as someone might say in the pros, let's take a look at him, bring him into camp. He's 6'4", about 210.
Depends how he runs. That's a
great point. That's
what's interesting about that score? Grove City won the first game with defense, won the second game with offense.
Gustafson was that size also.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, and we here at Armstrong, we continue in our support, thoughts and prayers for Clark City quarterback Mason Martin. He's making progress. And also, while we root for his complete recovery, we also root for his mother, who's battling stage 4 breast cancer. Our stories of the week, the NFL, shock and awe. San Francisco 30, the Steelers 7, and it was just total domination by the 49ers. Albert, what'd you say about preseason games?
They mean nothing.
I mean, nothing. How bad was the 49er domination until this? It was 20-0 late in the second quarter until the Steelers had that touchdown drive. They had a -1 total yards. That's how dominating it was.
Yeah, on paper, you don't play on paper, but San Francisco is the best team in football on paper.
Right.
And they proved it on the field that day. They showed, hey, whoa, wait, don't mess with us. We're the best team. We'll see how they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl for sure. I don't know if they can. We'll find out.
Yeah, and when I hear the Steelers weren't prepared, weren't ready to play, I'm saying, what? You had 2 weeks to prepare. And when Tomlin says we have to prepare them better, that's such a lame excuse. You're not ready. Is your fireman not ready? I'm sorry your house burned down. We weren't ready to fight a fire today. You want to hear that from your surgeon? I wasn't ready to operate on you today. Where does this come from, this excuse, we're not ready, we have to prepare better?
That's the coach speak. You know, they all say that. It's interesting that when they said they're not prepared, San Francisco ran the same 10 plays that Pittsburgh ran the same 10 plays, and one team had 20 points out of it. It's execution. It's player personnel. It goes all that goes into it, and you saw one team execute, and the other one didn't.
And someone asked me, said, "Was Brock Purdy a number 1 pick?" I said,
He
was
Mr. Irrelevant.
the last pick.
Guy picked. Yeah,
He did a pretty good job. The 49ers piled up 391 yards, 188 rushing. McCaffrey, 152 yards. He averaged nearly 7 yards a carry, and Purdy had a quarterback rating of 113. The Steelers only 239 yards, 41 rushing, and Pickett just a terrible game, 31 of 46 for 198 yards, 2 interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. Overall, I'm giving the offense just an F, the coaching an F. The only good, decent grade I'm giving is outside linebacker C, and that's due to Watt having 3 sacks.
Yes, you're never as bad as you look, never as good as you look. We're going to find out what goes on.
Yeah, and so here they have Cleveland coming up, and here's a stat from last year, 2022. The teams that played San Francisco the week after, they were combined 1-16. The only team that won was Kansas City, and they had a bye after they played the 49ers. Now, I'm not sure what to make of that. It's because of their physical style of play. Teams get so high for them that they don't get ready the next week. I'm not sure what the reason is, but 1-16 is 1-16.
Well, it used to be the Steelers of Baltimore like that. The week after you played them, you were all beat up.
So going against Cleveland, what are we looking for here? Cleveland beat up Cincy 24-3, held Burrow's first time ever to less than 100 yards passing, only 82. Now, Cleveland suffered a major injury. Their all-pro offensive tackle, Jack Conklin, he's done for the year.
Offensive line play is the ultimate check mark in NFL.
Yeah.
And if you have it, if you're blocking, you have a chance to win. If not, the quarterback's running for their life. I told Georgia on the way up, it's the number one thing I noticed on week 1. The teams that blocked on the offensive line had a chance. If you don't, the quarterbacks are running for their life.
What did Lombardi say? You could draw up all the X's and O's that you want. It comes down to blocking and tackling and winning that battle in the trenches. There's no secret to it.
Yeah, run blocking and pass blocking. You got to be able to do both in the NFL. And the Steelers did neither in that first game.
And now Cam Hayward, he's out for 8 weeks. He's going to have growing surgery. That really hurts them. They have no depth. When you go back, I think we said this at the draft. I expected them to draft a defensive end, defensive tackle. They didn't address that. They took Porter. He only played, 7 or 8 snaps on Sunday. So where do you go from here? They need to find someone to come in and fill that void.
We'll see. That's one thing. That's one thing at the NFL. It's not for long. I say that's what it stands for. Well, it'll be a whole different week this week. We'll say, man, they didn't look the same. Let's hope the Steelers look a lot better.
Yeah, they could. Remember the year the Buffalo beat New England like that, 31. They won the Super Bowl.
35-0.
And the year
they beat New England.
Pittsburgh beat Buffalo the same way. I don't think you can go by 1 week.
No, you can't.
But if you lose a couple more now, And you've lost 2 home games
Well,
now. That's not a good start.
You lose this home game to Cleveland. You're 0-2, but then you start off with a loss within your division. I don't know. You know more than I do about the stats when you lose those first 2 games.
Absolutely.
Your chances of making the playoffs go way down.
Oh, especially 2 home games.
Now, on one thing I noticed in the fourth quarter, Steeler fans left in droves, and you saw a lot of red jerseys in there. I didn't realize they said there were at least 10,000 San Francisco fans at that game.
Yeah, the expensive tickets are not the same as we grew up, and you better be a loyal fan to pay the money that Steelers are asking.
Well, they already paid it. It's not. They sold them out.
Yes.
In other words, it's not like.
But they were sold to sometime. I mean, right?
But they were sold to Pittsburgh people.
That's what I mean.
And then they sold them.
Yeah, they want the money. They're making money.
Now, if you come from Frisco, you might be willing to spend $500
They're making money.
for a ticket.
Money.
Absolutely.
I have a friend that does it. That's what he does. He buys his tickets now and sells them. Yes,
absolutely.
At Baltimore 25 and Houston 9, Baltimore loses running back J.K. Dobbins Achilles. That's his second major injury in the last 3 years. He's going to miss another season, probably the end of his career. Look for the Ravens to make a trade. Do you think they'll take a look at Jonathan Taylor from Indy?
Definitely. No. They didn't play good at all. You understand?
No, but
if they played San Francisco, they would have got me 43-0. Baltimore was so bad in that game. They were lucky they played Houston. That's all there was to it.
That doesn't matter who you play.
Jackson said it's the worst game he ever played in the NFL. He said it's my worst game. And think about winning a game. 25-9. You say it's the worst.
Yeah, they never touched that. Yeah.
Talking about blowouts. How about Dallas 40 and the Giants? Nothing. Who saw that coming?
Nobody sees any of these scores coming. I mean, that's the truth. That's survival, people. The survival people play survivor contests. If Washington would have lost, 1,000 people would have been out in 1 week.
The Jets 22, Buffalo 16 in overtime on a punt return for a touchdown. Was it 65 yards, 68 yards?
Yeah, it was
nice job. Aaron Rodgers, Achilles injury, most likely done for the season. Zach Wilson come in. He did a decent job, but it's the Jets defense that was impressive.
What you're hearing is who's going to have people standing at the end of the year. Our talk today has been about injuries. It's Hayward and Rodgers and right down the line. Who has the depth?
You know what's interesting? Interesting you say that. The lineman for the Packers is just complaining. Said you have to get this turf and get it out of here. He said you're moving it all out for the soccer for the World Cup, but yet you're letting us go down week after week.
This is one of the reasons why they increased the practice squad to 16 players.
Yeah.
You need that depth.
And the other thing I'll say, and I'll say it again for you fans, they don't hit in practice. So the game has changed. So when they do hit in the game, it's like, what are you doing? It's so changed.
I agree with that.
Their body's not used to being hit. It's something I don't understand.
No.
And the Lions 21, Kansas City 20. I had the Lions covering. I didn't predict them to win, but man, they played a great game. They were very physical.
Well, they have a good team.
They have a very good team and very good. The coach has done a terrific job changing the culture and the mindset there.
Well, he's a positive thinker. And he has them buying in, but more importantly, he has better players. Detroit went out and got a great offensive line. I just talked about offensive line. Detroit has a great offensive line.
Yes. Let's go to college football. It was not a good weekend in the Berg, starting off with Cincinnati 27, Pitt 21. It was a rough night for Pitt offense, only 262 yards, 83 yards rushing, something that they take pride in and rely on. And Phil Jacoby, probably his worst game as a college quarterback, 10 of 32 for 179 yards, 3 TDs. I was there. He made some bad passes, and then he had some passes dropped. One dropped in the end zone. It was just not a good game for him or the Pitt offense, and Pitt had no answer. No joke about Dante Corleone, 6'2", 318. They couldn't block him, nor could they block the linebacker, Jack Dingle, who had his way and harassed Djokovic all night long. And then running back Corey Kiner came from LSU, 5'9", 215. They couldn't stop him, 153 yards rushing.
Well, there's there's the check mark of today. This talk. Line play is going to win it. And Pitt depends totally on running the football. You understand? They've always done that. That's Narduzzi's MO. If I can run it, now I can throw it. And if they couldn't run the ball, Djokovic's not going to be, he's not a world beater.
He ran for his
he's
life.
a really good player, but he's no world. He's not going to carry the ship himself. Let's put it that way.
Now they're getting right by Saturday because I'll tell you right now.
Oh, they're going into a hornet's nest.
Absolutely.
Hornet's nest.
Absolutely.
West Virginia over Duquesne 56-17, and they have a solid running game. And Pitt's going. They're going. They're going to go right after Pitt with their running game. Now Djokovic's response. Pitt was booed. Narduzzi was booed. Djokovic was booed. I was in the press box. Friends were sitting in the stands. And they said it got a little ugly. There were F-bombs being thrown out. It got kind of personal. And not just by men throwing them out. It's kind of where we are today as a culture. Pitt, you go to a Pitt game, and I was looking around on Saturday. I love the pageantry of college football, the bands and everything. There were so many people in Steeler garb. And I'm thinking, you're dressing in Steeler garb and coming to a Pitt game.
That's who they are. It's just
it's a different mentality.
It's not a college town. That's why it's so important for Pitt to win. They don't get a big crowd anyway. If they don't win, they're not going to get anybody.
So George, you told me about it. Phil's response to being questioned about the booze. What do you think about what he said?
Well, I think he was correct, but it would have been better off not said.
Not said.
Yeah, but I think he was right. I mean, it's a home guy. It's your hometown guy. It's one game, but it would have been better left unsaid.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they boo Trace McSorley at Penn State a couple of years ago?
Oh, yeah. No,
No, they all boo. If you're all winning, they want to win. That's all they think about.
Now, here's the difference, guys. The lines between college and pro, they're blurred. The NIL has changed all that.
Yes.
People know if you're wearing a Rolex watch, you're driving a Lamborghini, you're living in an expensive condo. So now they're treating you differently. Mm-hmm. I heard Dan Orlovsky on ESPN say college teams, they can't get up every week, especially on the road. After all, they're not pros. I think Dan, he's a smart guy. He'd like to take that back. They're pros now. That's the way people look at them.
It's minor league.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'll tell you what else, too. And this is really, not that it wasn't before, but even more so. Half of them are drunk and half of them betting on Pitt. Let's be honest. That's why they're upset.
I think
like
that's
that night at Penn State.
None of that booing, but
yeah,
I was surprised. I shouldn't be surprised when my buddies told me that there were women throwing out these F-bombs.
The Pirate game is like that. The Pirate game, so it's
terrible.
And you can add the booze at the Pitt game weighs more.
So this game is with West Virginia is like a bowl game. It's big for Neil Brown and West Virginia. They thought they should have beaten Pitt last year, and Pitt, with a rough schedule ahead with Florida State, Notre Dame, Duke, and North Carolina coming up. This is a huge game for them, and I think it's a big game for Phil to have a decent game.
Well, they can run the football. He'll be okay. If they can't, he'll be changed all night.
They moved the Carolina game to prime time, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's the same night, and then you have Notre Dame and Ohio State at 7:30. Hey, just a few surprises around college football. Miami put it to Texas A&M 48-33. Jimbo's seat getting hotter. Colorado, no fluke now. They blew out Nebraska 36-14. And you watched Texas blow out Alabama 34-24. How good is Texas?
They've always had talent. I thought Sark bringing a lot of talent, but they've always done it. They're capable of this game, but they're also capable of next game losing. We'll see if they can keep going. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of football left to play. Interesting what's going on. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Business Pro Wi-Fi from Armstrong Business Solutions is more than just Wi-Fi. It enhances productivity, tightens security, and is tailor-made for small business. Take control over guest networks with a branded portal, protect sensitive data, and manage staff with the WorkPass app. Business Pro Wi-Fi gives you customer insight, turning analytics into opportunities. Get a fully connected business intelligence platform in the palm of your hand. Business Pro Wi-Fi from Armstrong Business Solutions.